If you are relatively new to F1 or are not familiar with terms like flowbies, error rakes, and what the hell is a BSC, this video is for you. There are tons of keywords and structures that are never quite explained, because most viewers are not there for the first time, but since they are not explained, even experienced viewers might find themselves confused by some terms, and that's what I'm here to address. In today's introduction to F1 video, we're going to be taking a look at how an F1 weekend takes place and every nuance that comes with it. But before we get started, I'm gonna have to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. It really helps me to keep going. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. Alright, let's begin. The Formula 1 weekend can easily be divided into three categories: practice, qualifying, and the race. They each play a part in the final outcome, and if you screw one up, you might regret it by the end of the weekend. Let's begin with free practice. F1 practice sessions take up the bulk of the weekend, commonly referred to by their initials of FP. There are normally 3 practice sessions before each and every race. On these sessions, the teams can go back and forth with new and old parts to see how they affect the aerodynamics and overall pace of the car, looking for a faster lap time. On these sessions, setups can be changed and fine-tuned to each driver's needs, looking for where they feel they can extract the most out of their cars. Here is where you can see some odd machinery being used, and although less common, error rakes can be deployed. These contraptions are essentially a ton of sensors connected to each other to measure airflow. Often seen in preseason testing, they are mostly implemented as last measures against an unresponsive car. Ones that show X data on the wind tunnel but on track can reproduce the same results. This rake helps demonstrate how real-world airflow disturbs the car. You may also see some flowbies paint. It's the fluorescent shit smeared all over the car, and has recently made a comeback after not being used for a pretty long time. It's comprised of a solvent of some kind and bright coloring. It's splattered around the bodywork and then the car is sent out. The air going around the bodywork will stick if the flow is optimal, and once the liquid evaporates, it leaves an even and continuous trail of powder, showing the flow of the air. If said trail is not continuous or has built up around some areas and is completely gone on others, it's called detachment, and it means the air is not flowing accordingly and is creating an uneven ride. Teams may run a driver affiliated with the team but of junior categories on FP1. Aptly named junior drivers, they take part in this session as an acclimatization to the car program for future racing prospects. Each practice session lasts 90 minutes. FP1 and FP2 are held on Friday, while FP3 is held on Saturday before qualifying. Drivers and teams have different programs they have to fill, and the car runs can be divided into short runs or quali runs on low fuel, long runs or race runs on high fuel, and experimental runs for trying out new parts and components. There has recently been discussions regarding the length and number of practice sessions, with some arguing that 3 is way too many, allowing the cars to fine-tune every detail of the setup, but the counter-arguments could be seen quite easily for the Eiffel Grand Prix, where FP1 and FP2 were cancelled due to bad weather. Therefore, teams could only run for FP3, and it led to many teams struggling for pace and setup, mostly those trying out new parts because not much setting up was allowed due to the time restraint. Practice sessions are important because they allow us to see all the development that is going out throughout the season. And I can see where some people come from when they say that there is just too much practice nowadays, but just slicing sessions is not going to work. In my opinion, we should bring back mid-season testing, be it for new drivers or big aero packages, and therefore allow the teams to still bring big upgrade packages and test them thoroughly in the testing session, allowing free practice running to be cut to 1 and 2 sessions every weekend and not hinder the progress and daring designs of what is supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport. Qualifying sessions are much more straightforward. They are divided into 3 categories and decide the running order for the race the next day. Once qualifying starts, cars have to abide by paraphernalia rules until the end of the race. These rules are quite complicated, so I'll just summarize it as saying cars are allowed minimal change between then and the end of the race, and therefore the setup for qualifying has to be a nice balance between one lap pace and the race pace. Qualifying itself takes place in a 3-stage knockout system, where as soon as the lights go green on the pit lane, the drivers have 18 minutes to set a time fast enough to be in the top 15 spots. This first part of qualifying is colloquially called Q1, and once the time is over, no more cars can start a lap, although those who have already started one can finish it. Teams have a few minutes to adjust the aero and warm up the tires until the lights go green for the second time. This marks the beginning of Q2, where drivers have 15 minutes to set a time, and where the 10 fastest drivers move on to the final part of qualifying. After positions 11 to 20 have been decided, the top 10 cars will move to Q3 and will have to start the next day race on the tire that has set their fastest time to get through to this session. This plays into the strategy, putting those top 10 drivers slightly on the back foot for the race the next day. Q3 consists of the top 10 drivers having 12 minutes to decide those top 10 positions on the grid. This effectively decides pole position and the order of those top 10 drivers. Once the checkered flag is shown, all drivers must go to the pit lane, where they park their cars away in a designated spot until the next day, so that no changes can be made to said cars. The race is the big one, but since there is way too much to tell, I'm going to try to summarize it, because otherwise we're going to be here until tomorrow. I'm going to try to summarize it all in under a minute. Alright. 3, 2, 1, go! The race starts with a warm-up lap where all the team personnel have to vacate the grid. The safety car will take the drivers around the lap and they heat the tires to their optimal temperature for a better start. Once the lights go out, the race starts and then the drivers race for either 305 kilometers or 2 hours, whichever happens first. All cars must run with at least 2 different tire compounds during the race of the 3 made available by Pirelli, the soft, the mediums or the hards. This means that drivers pit at least once every race and try to come out in clean air and wait to see if they can undercut or overcut the driver in front for track position. If a driver screws up during a race or crashes into another driver, they can be given one of many punishments, ranging from a warning to a 5, 10 or 15 second time penalty that has to be served in the pit stop, or it will be added to the final race time. Other penalties can range from a drive-through, a stop and go, and a disqualification. Once the race is over, the top 10 drivers to finish will get points in the subsequent order: 25 to the winner, 18 for second, and then 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and then 1 point for position 3 to 10. Those points count towards the driver and constructors championship, and the top 3 finishers take part in the podium celebration where trophies are given out and champagne is sprayed with joy and enthusiasm. Alright, and with time to spare, that definitely was just one take, yes, definitely just one take. Finally, I'm going to be talking about the flags and the safety car, why they are shown or deployed and what do they mean exactly. The first one is quite obvious. The checkered flag marks the end of the race and it's the most recognizable. Yellow flags mean caution. If it's a single one, it means that drivers must slow down, but if it's a double wave yellow flag, it's probably because someone has crashed and the drivers must be prepared to stop at any time. Green flags mean that the track is clear again. The warning flag, which has pretty obvious meaning, implies that the warning is being given to a driver for erratic behavior, and if 2 warning flags are shown, a penalty will follow for the 3rd offense. This red and yellow flag is used to indicate a slippery track, due to oil, water, or loose debris, or if there's an animal on the track. The black and orange flag is waved in conjunction with the driver number and indicates a mechanical problem, usually when the radio is down and the driver must return to the pit, while a sole black flag indicates disqualification. The red flag is shown where there has been an incident that requires track maintenance that could put marshals in danger if cars are still going around, even under safety car conditions, and therefore all drivers must go in the pits as soon as possible. Finally, the blue flag means that there's a faster car approaching from behind and is about to lap them. They should move out to the side and let them through within 3 flagpoles to avoid a penalty. The safety car is a staple of Formula 1 racing. It was first introduced for the 1973 Canadian Grand Prix, where a yellow Porsche 914 was called for duty following various incidents under treacherous weather conditions. This race was an interesting one. I might even cover it in a future video. And the safety car is currently a Mercedes-AMG GTR, which has nothing to do with Mercedes winning the recent titles, since Mercedes-Benz cars had been used for a safety car since 1996 with the mighty C63 AMG. Once the safety car is deployed, it will have either green or orange lights depending on whether it's safe to overtake it or not at the top of it, and once the race leader is behind it, they should slow down and let the safety car lead the race. No overtakes can happen during safety car periods, and it will stay out until the track obstruction that caused it in the first place is cleared and there is no recovery vehicles or workers on the track. Once this safety car period ends, the leading driver will control the field, slowing the drivers behind him down and accelerating whenever he sees fit, up until the starting line. And once said line is crossed, drivers are free to overtake once again. The virtual safety car, or VSC, was introduced in 2015, following the crash of Jules Bianchi the previous season. This version of the safety car is based on the slow zone used in World Endurance Championship racing and is applied instantly, no need to catch a safety car cue. Once deployed, it forces driver to not exceed a posted time limit, thus resulting in a 35% speed reduction for the whole track at once. All these measures are put in place to safeguard the drivers' lives and make racer cleaner and safer for the betterment of the sport and improvement of safety all across motorsport. Well, yeah, that is pretty much it for today. If you like these videos and want me to do more, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future uploads.